Hey, Federal Way.
Hey, how we doing?
If you love this city, let me hear you make some noise.
We don't mean to brag, but we do have the best city around, don't we?
Yes.
We want to welcome you to the 2019 State of the City Address. We're excited for the program tonight.
It's going to be wonderful. Our leader and mayor is going to share his heart, and I'm just excited about you. What about you? All right. Now, I need to see the person who graduated from Decatur High School in the class of, you don't want to admit it. 75? Anybody? Decatur High School? 65. Well, tonight.
Federal Way.
Federal Way High School. Well, tonight we have a young man who's a freshman at Decatur High School, and he's going to sing our national anthem tonight. Welcome, Trenton Walker.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Thank you.
Please be seated.
Trenton Walker, everybody. Thank you all for coming out to this beautiful facility today. We are so fortunate to have events like this at our new Performing Arts and Event Center. It's really an exciting night.
It's our pleasure tonight to introduce to you a man of vision,
Passion,
energy,
love for our city,
a strong leader,
the husband of the lovely Wendy,
the father of a young, strapping young man named Ben,
a contender of justice,
a servant to our city,
a Huskies fan extraordinaire, go Dogs,
an appreciator of pastors,
a man with a plan.
and just a really good guy,
Ladies and gentlemen,
Mayor Jim Farrell.
Oh my gosh, it's great. Great to see everybody here. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the 2019 City of Federal Way State of the City. We've been planning this for a long time. A lot of work came into it, but this is amazing. It's great to see so many people here. You know, it's great also to be in our beautiful Performing Arts and Event Center. This is the second time we've had it here, and this, I think, is a tradition we're going to keep doing. Before I get any further, I'd like to introduce my policy partners on the City Council. We've got Deputy Mayor Honda. Let's give her a big round of applause. Now let's give Susan another big round because it's her birthday today. And, you know, it actually happens to coincide with the city's birthday. It's the city's 29th birthday today. Is that amazing? But I got ahead of myself, as I always do. And the council, my policy partners can tell you that. We've got our other council members here. Councilmember Tran. Councilmember Lydia Essefa-Dawson. Councilmember Mark Kopang. Councilmember Martin Moore. Councilmember Jesse Johnson. And Councilmember Deanie Duclos. We are also so fortunate to have a great judge in our city, Judge Larson. And I'm really grateful. We have Auburn Mayor Nancy Backus is with us. Nancy, thank you so much for being here. Great partner. We've got Fire Commission Board Chair for South King Fire, Bill Gates. And, you know, we've got some former mayors in the crowd as well I want to acknowledge. And one of them stopped by today, City Hall, Mary Gates, Bill's wife, who was our mayor back a few years ago. Mary, thank you so much for being here. Got former Mayor Linda Kochmar, former state representative. Former mayor, deputy mayor, long-term council member, and dear friend Gene Burbidge. And we're just so fortunate to have everybody here tonight. Before I get any further, I said Susan's birthday, but we also, Cheryl Hurst's birthday is today too. And everybody knows Cheryl. I'd also like to thank the Decatur High School high freshman Trenton Walker for performing the national anthem. Didn't he do a great job? And in advance, you're going to hear from the Lakota Middle School Choir, and I'd like to thank them for their performance here tonight. Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to report to you that the state of the city of Federal Way in 2019 is strong. I'm here to talk to you today about the future. And really, when we're thinking about the future of Federal Way, I was thinking in regard to themes about one of the more popular movies when I was in high school, and probably one of the more successful movies in history. And one of the central components of the 1985 movie Back to the Future was the flux capacitor. You know, that Y-shaped device consisting of 3 small flashing incandescent lamps mounted above and behind the passenger seat of the DeLorean time machine. One of the many great lines in the movie was when Dr. Emmett Brown, played by the famous Christopher Lloyd, says to Marty McFly, "Ha-ha, it works. I finally invented something that actually works." The flux capacitor activated time travel when the DeLorean hit 88 miles per hour, as everyone knows. And the entire movie plotline revolves around Doc and Marty trying to fix the flux capacitor in order to get Marty back to 1985 after he's stranded in 1955. I think part of the reason why the film was so successful and really continues to have such a strong following today is because time travel is something everyone has thought about at one point or another. It got me thinking that, you know, each and every one of us are time travelers in our own way. Abraham Lincoln once said, "The best thing about the future is that it comes one day at a time." We each have our own flux capacitors. They are our memories and the people that we form those with. There are people currently alive today, and I think about this, who lived through things like that we see in black and white pictures, the Great Depression, World War II, the kind of events that are forever etched into the nation's memory and in the history books. People lose touch with those events because not everyone can relate to them on a personal level. They don't know someone who lived through it, and they didn't experience it themselves. That's not the case with our city. We have seen our city transform before our very eyes. The rubble, trash, and cyclone fencing that was our prior downtown has been replaced with Town Square Park. The former Toys R Us building is now this beautiful and transformative building, our Performing Arts and Event Center. I remember when the day we knocked that down and seeing those walls come down. The other day, I was on Google Earth and Google Maps, and I was trying to play around with it, look at this area and look at what the area looks like now, actually for this presentation. And say what you want about the controversial cars Google sends out. It's amazing what they're able to produce, and it is always interesting to look when those pictures were taken. Town Square Park view from satellite, when you look way above, from the satellite view, 126 miles above, was taken when the area was being groomed by bulldozers. It doesn't show the current layout, just waiting for the park to be built. That same view shows the spot where the former Toys R Us was located, a brownish patch of asphalt. But keep zooming in, and do this when you get home. Keep zooming in, and by switching over to the street view on Piet van Rijkbouwer Way, the site is transformed into what you currently see when you drive down Piet van Rijkbouwer Way. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that the future of Federal Way is now. The Google Earth example is an illustration of the progress we've made in 5 quick years. Our city is transforming before our very eyes, and it's going to continue to do so. Right here in this building, we brought Spectra, the company that runs this organization, to our facility to run it. Earlier this month, 5-time Grammy winner Robert Cray performed here on this stage to a sold-out building. The PAC is also a resident home of the Tacoma City Ballet and its performance of the Nutcracker for the past 2 seasons, as well as many other performing arts groups. Those performing arts groups were really the backbone of the effort to get this made, and we are in their debt. That's exactly why we partnered with Spectra to bring to town high-quality acts and shows and fill this building and bring people through these doors. This is a gem for our community, and we want the rest of the region to experience it as well. And despite opening less than 2 years ago, we paid off nearly 80% of the construction cost. It's actually just pretty amazing. Now, I've gotten so many emails about where's the signage for the PAC. Next month, that question will be answered. You'll see crews installing signage on the outside of this building, letting those driving down 320th know that the PAC is here. The black and bold lettering will light up when it gets dark, so this facility will be visible 24 hours a day. We'd like to thank King County Councilmember Piet van Rijkbouwer for his role in helping us secure the $100,000 grant from King County to finance the signage. Thank you, Pete. The future is the downtown staircase, and the future is here. There's been a lot of talk about walls lately. I'm here to tell you that we're going to tear down one very visible wall and replace it with a sweeping staircase that will offer majestic views of Town Square Park below and Mount Rainier in the distance. We've accepted a bid for the project, and my policy partners on the City Council voted to approve the project at our last City Council meeting on the 19th. We're in the midst of planning a groundbreaking for this project, and I hope many of you can make it. This project utilizes $3 million in local infrastructure financing tools, which can only be used for capital projects, and $125,000 in real estate excise money, or what they call REIT money, which can also only be used for capital purposes. No general fund money will go toward the construction of the staircase, but it will be transformative. The staircase design features plenty of sitting spaces for those who'd like to stop and take in one of the best views in the entire city. Imagine a little amphitheater in which we get to gather for a place to sit or eat your lunch. Where there's once a wall, there will now be a place to recreate, to eat, or meet friends and family. It will truly connect these properties together and create a true downtown. This project will be completed this year. These capital projects, the park, the PAC, the staircase, these are investments in our community, will be part of our landscape forever. The future is a walkable downtown. The future is a connected downtown, from the park to the PAC and beyond. The future is an education hub in our downtown. We've been working on the University Initiative for years. We've been working with our partners at the Federal Way Public Schools, Highline College, and the University of Washington-Tacoma to launch a higher education facility in Federal Way. This came out of a Federal Way Higher Education Needs Assessment published in the fall of 2016, which led to a memorandum of understanding signed by the four partners in January of 2017. We've got Dr. Campbell here with the Federal Way School District, as well as Mark Pagano, the Chancellor of University of Washington-Tacoma, and representatives of Highline College as well. And it really is an exciting endeavor. Last year, with the help of State Representatives Mike Policiotti and Christine Reeves, Highline College received $500,000 per year in state funding for this important project. I'd like to say thank you to those who have played an important role in making this happen. This is actually going to happen at a site not far from here in the complex just north of us, and it will be the temporary home of UW Federal Way, what will be known as the Hub. The parties are in the process of finalizing a multi-year lease, and 3 staff members are already hired. General education courses will be offered, which could apply to most academic majors. We're looking at a soft opening this summer with classes starting this fall. Higher education has arrived in Federal Way. Now, the Hub is a key piece of our downtown. It's near the transit center, and we're connecting the walkability of the entire downtown through construction of the staircase. Having a higher education center within city limits also creates opportunities to strengthen and expand partnerships we already have with Federal Way Public Schools and the Youth Employment Support Network. We can't talk about the next chapter and future of our downtown core without mentioning the arrival of light rail. Light rail will be a game changer for sure. I've had a front row seat on this Tacoma Link Extension project due to my position as co-chair with the Tacoma Mayor Victoria Woodards on the Elected Leaders Board. Light rail trains will enter Federal Way from the north at 317th off of I-5. The development involves a 6-square-block transit-oriented district along 320th and 23rd near the existing transit center. Federal Way will be the final stop on the line for nearly 5 years before the next phase, heading south to Tacoma, is finished. With the track ending near the front door of Target at the Commons Mall, this will be time to showcase our downtown core. Excuse me, that's not our mall. Who put that in there? That's our mall. Kind of getting carried away with the whole Back to the Future thing. Light rail's arrival will put a spotlight on the Commons Mall. Now, since Berlong Geyer purchased the mall in 2017, we've seen them invest in bringing more shopping and dining options for residents and visitors alike. The newest tenant to set up roots at the mall is going to be Mama Stortini's at the former McGrath site. Now, Mama Stortini's, for those of you from your reaction I can tell, features a delicious blend of Pacific Northwest and Old World flavors. The future is large-scale business development in Federal Way. Our planning department has been working with DaVita since 2017 on plans for approximately 200,000 square foot facility near the former Weyerhaeuser campus. They've got a campus like that right now. They're literally going to double it, which will essentially double their footprint in the city and add 1,000 more jobs to our city. These are great jobs and great investments of our city. It really adds fuel to the Federal Way economic engine. And actually, I think Becca Martin is here with the Chamber of Commerce, and I want to say a special thank to Becca for her partnership. Thank you, Becca. She actually cut short her vacation to be with us tonight, and I really appreciate that. Dr. Maroon El Khoury of Diagnostex, a saliva testing healthcare company, continues to complete work on opening his new facility here. It's expected to employ over 100 scientists. Neumeyer Engineering, a parts manufacturer of complex parts and sub-assemblies for aerospace, defense, electronics, and commercial industries, currently operates a manufacturing facility in Kent, but it is coming to Federal Way. The company recently received its land use approval permit and is in the midst of acquiring a building permit. And Elenos Yogurt, which recently made a multi-million-dollar investment in its manufacturing facility in Federal Way at the site of the former Baden Sports Building, is proud to call our city home. This was just on King 5 this week. I can't tell you how many emails and phone calls I got. The folks at Elenos were featured on King 5 News earlier this week, and it's great to see them be such good ambassadors for our city. Our hoteliers are also making investment in Federal Way. Just yesterday, across the street, I attended a ribbon cutting along with many others for the new La Quinta Hotel. I got a chance to see firsthand the beautiful remodel of the building, and it's crucial for hotels to have a presence in our downtown, and the new La Quinta is a key example of that investment. We continue to look beyond Federal Way and the state of Washington when it comes to encouraging businesses to come to Federal Way. I'd like to thank Tim Johnson, and he's been working hard with me to do exactly that. Now, I don't know if you heard this or not, but Federal Way was one of 139 census tracts in 36 counties across the state approved as an opportunity zone. The tract is primarily located in the Central City area and city center, west of I-5 and east of Pacific Highway. So what does that mean? Opportunity zone status enables us to offer special federal tax breaks to encourage development and job creation. We have the chance to build projects and businesses that create wage-earning jobs. It doesn't cost us a penny. It's a tool we can use to finance development and business. The future is now. The future is more tourism events in the city of Federal Way. Just look at the list of event successes in 2018. We hosted the 2019 Special Olympics at various sites throughout Federal Way. Which included the Rise With Us rally at the Commons Mall. That event united local officials and community members as they engaged and cheered on our local Special Olympics team. As banners hung on poles along main thoroughfares throughout Federal Way proudly proclaimed, we recently hosted the Northwest Conference Swimming Championships at the King County Aquatic Center. The Pac-12 Swimming and Diving Championships started this week. The Aquatic Center also hosted the 2018 MATE International ROV competition in the pool area. This competition highlighted the role. These young people were from all over the world. And that competition highlighted the role that remotely operated vehicles play in supporting underwater archaeology, seismology, and renewable energy activities, specifically in the Pacific Northwest. Our Parks Department hosted 2 different major softball tournaments at Celebration this past summer. We also played host to dignitaries from Hachinohe, our sister city in Japan, as part of a 25th anniversary celebration in cooperation with the Arts Commission. The event included a photo display here at the Performing Arts and Events Center and an interactive display and workshop with scholars from Federal Way Public Schools. I'd be remiss if I did not mention the opening of the new Panther Lake Trail, which opened Tuesday with the large portion of funding from King County Parks. And we're looking forward. I think we got $900,000 from King County for that grant, and it was 8 years in the making. It's just absolutely fantastic. We're looking forward to hosting the Korean American National Sports Festival in June, which will attract more than 5,000 judges, officials, participants, and spectators to our city. We're creating, it's great. We're really creating something special in Federal Way, and it's something that requires an unwavering vision of greatness. I go to City Hall every day with that vision firmly entrenched in my mind. I wrote in a column for the Federal Way Mirror a few months ago about how the legendary football coach at the University of Washington, my former coach, Don James, was a master of removing negative circumstances. thoughts, and situations, and honing in on the vision and how his team was going to get the desired result. Coach James paid meticulous attention to detail, and planning. He also understood that success did not come overnight, and that in order to build something special, that vision must be maintained consistently. Coach James once said, quote, "Those with commitment have a special glow about them." But I thought when I was thinking about this, and I thought it missed something, because my former position coach at the University of Washington, Chris Tormey, used to say, and these words stick with me, "The definition of commitment is removing the option to quit." And those are wise words indeed. The future of Federal Way is a safer city. The number one priority of any government at any level is the safety of its citizens. We are making great headway in that regard. Overall crime dropped 11% in 2018 from the year prior. And that comes on the heels of a 10% drop in 17 from the year before that. In fact, overall crime is down 4 out of the last 5 years in the city of Federal Way. We experienced just last year a 6% drop in residential burglaries in 2018. Motor vehicle theft in the city of Federal Way dropped 16% last year, and larceny or theft dropped by 18% in Federal Way. In 2018, we authorized the hiring of 5 new police officers, funded in part by a Department of Justice grant, boosting the total of our number of our officers to 134. It's important to note also that we did not have one gun-related murder in Federal Way last year. It's a tremendous accomplishment. Now, the future is a more community-connected city. So how do we get there? Bringing people together to find solutions is the answer. We continue to convene our Veterans Committee, and some of those members are here today. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm passionate. Thank you. I'm passionate about our community and how we publicly honor those who have served our country. One of my favorite quotes from President Kennedy is, quote, "The nation reveals itself not only by the men and women it produces, but by those it honors and it remembers." Our committee has the task of generating a vision and a plan to honor veterans publicly that is in lockstep with the community, while at the same time exploring grants or private funding for some kind of display honoring our veterans. Also tonight, I'm proud to announce that I will be convening a senior commission. I will work with the council to get this started right away, and I want to thank Deputy Mayor Susan Honda, Councilmember Martin Moore, and several other members of the City Council that have been working on getting this in place. It's something that I've been talking about and my colleagues on the council have been talking about. The seniors are such a valuable part of the community, and we're anxious to provide them with an outlet so we could tap into their ideas and suggestions on how to improve our city. They've acquired a lifetime of knowledge, and we want to benefit from that. The future is a cleaner city, and that future is now. When I drive around Federal Way, whether it's taking my son to school, taking Bailey, our golden retriever puppy, to the dog park, I'm always on the lookout for something that's out of place. My department directors will laugh about this because immediately after I see it, I give them a call to let them know about it as well. But that's what happens when you're passionate about your community. You care how it looks. We are so fortunate and if I haven't done so yet, Wendy and Ben, thank you so much for being here. My wife Wendy and son Ben, thank you. We are so fortunate to have residents and community groups who feel the same way. At our Paint the Fence event this past June, we transformed 1,500 feet of a stretch of 320th that was plagued by graffiti and turned into a cohesive, continuous matching run. Oh, there's Ben and Bailey right there. What a great expression of community that was. We had members of our city council, scout troops, church groups, nonprofit, and engaged community members pick up a paintbrush and donate a couple of hours to a good cause. I drive by that every day, as I'm sure many of you do, and it reminds me of that day that we got that done. It was just absolutely amazing. Now, see that picture to the right? You may not see her, but Shelley Pauls really pulled that all together. Let's give Shelley a big... there are just certain people who bring, to bring the community together, and she's one of that. That event would not have occurred without Shelley. So thank you very much. And it reminds me actually that we have another announcement, and I didn't see Vic before he got here, but Vic Pennington is our new fire chief, who's seated right here. Thank you, Vic. Fire Chief Al Church is retiring, well-deserved retirement after years and years, and Vic, I look forward to working with you, and thank you for your service. We as a city have shown an ability to shift resources and adopt policy to deal with the problem of blight in our community. When our department volunteers could no longer pick up abandoned shopping carts and return them to retailers, we set out to find a solution. The number of abandoned shopping carts, and you know what I'm talking about, you've all seen them around town, strewn throughout the streets and sidewalks of Federal Way, threatening public safety, had ballooned to nearly 2,000 carts per year. After gathering info, that's one of the things I call our directors about frequently when I see them around town, is we need to get these picked up and moved. And it's just something that needed to be addressed. After getting input from area retailers over 2 meetings and based on research and neighboring cities, city ordinances, we drafted an ordinance to address abandoning shopping carts. We took a look at, Mayor Backus, we took a look at one of your statutes, I believe, and thank you for that. My policy partners on the City Council passed an ordinance in December that establishes incentives for retailers to prevent shopping carts from leaving their property and imposing fines when shopping carts are retrieved by the city and left unclaimed. Quality of life issues extend to the skies above our homes as well as it pertains to airport noise in our community. We are engaged on a variety of fronts, and it's a multi-layered effort, as anybody who's familiar with the policy knows. My senior policy advisor, Yarden Weidenfeld, and a dedicated group of community members co-authored a report released in August, this past August, detailing the noise and health impacts of air traffic from SeaTac International Airport, as well as military aircraft from McCord Field on the Federal Way community. The report also contains specific action recommendations for the city, which we're working on. At a Puget Sound Regional Council Executive Board meeting last February, I successfully ensured that the soon-to-start regional aviation baseline study scope includes capacity of that airport and impacts on communities near SeaTac. There has to be at some point a fill line in which they cannot go back, they cannot keep going. At another meeting a few months later, while recognizing that this study is not a siting study, I spoke up about the need for it to consider the option of a new regional airport when it outlines potential future scenarios. Many of our residents' most important investments are their homes. They feel those investments are being threatened with the sometimes deafening blast of a jet engine. At a Port Commission meeting, I went and also testified at the Port Commission. It was a beautiful room, and it was about the size of our city council chambers. And as I was preparing to testify, I had my notes all ready, and I was getting ready to testify, and I sat down. And as soon as I sat down, there was this deafening blare. Something was going on with the sound system, and it went on for a minute. Staffers were running around. The commissioners had their fingers in their ears, and everybody was looking pretty panicked for about 45 seconds. And then and they looked pretty embarrassed, and it was one of those things where I just sat there and it kind of played out. It was deafening. And once they fixed the problem, it was my turn to testify. And I said, I think now you have a good idea of what the Federal Way residents are having to deal with. As long as aircraft noise and emissions severely impact our neighborhoods here in Federal Way, I will continue, along with my policy partners and regional partners, to speak out and make sure the Port of Seattle hears our concerns. The future is a city that professionally responds to weather-related events as well, and that future is now. In total, this month alone, in February, is the 5th snowiest February since 1894. And the snowiest since 1910, 109 years. Our road maintenance crews, consisting of both Public Works and Parks Department, were ready for the challenge. They dutifully pulled 12-hour shifts, 24 hours a day during the storm. We incurred 1,594 labor hours, spreading 670 tons of salt and 560 tons of sand. That's 1 million pounds each. It's absolutely astounding. We've incurred more plow days this year so far than the last 5 years combined. Just like gives you an idea of the scope and the scale of what we've done. And I'm really proud of our folks. Let's give them a big round of applause. Teamed with the outstanding response by road maintenance crews, we increased access to information by the public through press releases, social media posts, and real-time updates on our website. Our IT department even built a page on our website that looped in cameras from 6 of our busiest intersections so people could see what the streets look like at the moment in real time if they boldly decided to venture out. And many people have to. We went as far as preparing our emergency operations center if it was needed to be activated in the event of a massive power outage or ice storm. That's what that picture is right there. We set up what they call the emergency operations center. It's Ray Gross, the chief, myself, and E.J. Walsh, our new public works director. And we were ready. If we needed to activate the emergency operations center, we would have. In that case, our community partners from Lake Haven, South King County Fire and Rescue, St. Francis Hospital, and Federal Way Public Schools would all be in that room managing and keeping an eye on the situation for each and every one of us out in the community. Our winter storm response also include responding to the needs of our community. We opened up the community center as a warming shelter during the early stage of the storm in case those without shelter needed to get out of the cold. Part of responding to the needs of the community is finding a way to wrap our arms around the complex issue of homelessness. Our homelessness task force released this report in December with the goal of examining homelessness in its totality in Federal Way. After more than 8 months of meetings, the 16-page report details some of the root causes of homelessness, its impacts on those experiencing homelessness, the community impacts of homelessness, and a strategic plan for proposed solutions, as well as a path to solutions for individuals and the community as a whole. I want to thank the members of the Homeless Task Force for their work in producing this report. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. The report also lists a list of recommendations for helping alleviate the problem locally. The City Council and I are in the midst of looking at ways we can incorporate some of the report's recommendations as soon as possible. And our comprehensive legislative agenda reflects funding requests in regard to some of these challenges that our community is facing. We asked the state legislature, and they're working on it now diligently, for $50,000 for a trial program whereby the city would partner with a local nonprofit to pay panhandlers and others experiencing homelessness an hourly wage to work on city improvement projects such as cleanup efforts. Free meals would also be provided. When the job is completed, participants would be taken to pick up payment and would be connected to services. This program is similar to what the city of Albuquerque, New Mexico organized as part of a There's a Better Way program. And the city of Tucson, Arizona is now exploring that same program. We also requested $150,000 to support a comprehensive and regularly updated online website containing local and regional services for those in need. And that's really what we need. We need those communications to make sure that everybody is working from the same piece of information. We could create this ourselves in cooperation with county and other nearby municipalities or in collaboration with 211, which is a great resource. Responding to homelessness is a balancing act, but we must uphold the rule of law in our city as well. That means honoring the rights of property owners and public lands owned by the taxpayers when it comes to cleaning up encampments. It's truly a balancing act, and in ways what we're trying to do is thread that needle and work, protecting people's dignity, but also protecting the city, the community, and everyone's property rights. We've cleaned up and shut down more than 24 encampments on public property, most of which were completely abandoned over the last few years, and we've utilized strategies such as thinning thick foliage to increase visibility and assisting landowners with private cleanups. And these are really, that site right there off of Pack Highway was absolutely unbelievable and went on and on and on. And that's really what we're talking about. This is what's left in the wake of these homelessness camps, and they've got to be cleaned up for about 10 different reasons, mainly for the safety of our community, and especially those that are there as well. Now, we're also committed to finding solutions to creating more opportunities to people to secure affordable housing in Federal Way. After Microsoft's recent pledge of $500 million for affordable housing in our region really brought this issue to the forefront, I signed a letter along with other mayors in our region outlining some solid strategies and options to consider when we start talking about policy. I'm pleased that the statement also includes support for a broad range and variety of housing for people at wherever they find themselves at various stages. We need a balanced and a varied housing stock, and it's critical that we do that. It's one of the biggest issues facing this country and this region. And we're currently doing things in our community to address the problem. My policy partners on the City Council passed a motion in December during our budget process to allot $26,000 in city money to fund a position for 2 years on the South King County Housing and Homeless Partnership. Along with a handful of representatives from other cities in South King County, together, the members will work collaboratively to meet the housing needs of people with limited incomes throughout the region. We're also meeting in the coming weeks with our local faith-based leaders at City Hall to build an initial framework to set up an overnight shelter for when we are faced with inclement weather. It's absolutely our obligation. The future is a financially strong and fiscally conscious city as well. This is something that the council and I have been working on a great deal. Early last year, our finance director, Ade Arewulu, said that we would need to dip into the general fund reserves to the tune of about $1 million in 2019. My response was, that's not going to happen. We're not going to do that. Back in June of 2018, I utilized some zero-based budgeting principles to generate my proposed 2019 and 20 biennial budget that I proposed to the council in September. The budget process required us to roll up our sleeves and make some difficult decisions. Directors of the Big Four departments, Parks and Rec, the Police Department, Public Works, and Community Development, dug deep and found more than $200,000 in savings in each and every one of their departments for a total of about $1 million toward 2019. My proposed budget acknowledged the tax fatigue in our region. That is exactly why it featured no tax increases, and we did not lay off one city employee. We did what every household, what every one of you in your households have to do. We lived within our means. My proposed budget has us actually going in the other direction and paying back the reserve fund to the tune of $100,000 a year. We're also in the midst of conducting a comprehensive salary and workload study. Now, it's important to note that for the 6 years before I became mayor, our non-union employees went 6 years without a cost of living increase. We instituted in this past budget a 2% COLA at the beginning of this year for non-represented employees, and I'll explain why that's important. We need to take care of the people who are your ambassadors. The last salary survey, and I think at some point, to be honest, the staff and those at city government were afraid what they would do, what they would find if we did a comprehensive salary survey, because what are we going to do? But we can't be afraid of the truth. We need to find out exactly where we're at in the marketplace, because ultimately we're going to lose good people in this process that do work for each and every one of the people in this room. And so we're in the business of providing services. This is a service delivery organization, and we've built up a staff of highly qualified individuals who are very good at their jobs. They have a wide breadth of institutional knowledge, but we continue to lose good people to other cities. We're losing that intellectual capital because they're finding more competitive salary packages elsewhere, and that's just not acceptable. Since downsizing in certain departments several years ago during that Great Recession, some of our employees' scope of work has changed as well. They've been asked to do more with less, and they need to be properly compensated, and we also need a workload study to ensure that people are not unnecessarily overworked. And on the recommendation of Police Chief Andy Wong and our Finance Director Ade Arewulu, I recommended to the council that we walk away from our SCORE jail agreement. Your City Council affirmed that decision, voting unanimously to leave SCORE. Turning our attention to 2020, we will truly see the positive financial impact of leaving SCORE. We expect net savings of $2.1 million in each year of the biennium for a total of $4.2 million for the City of Federal Way. This is about ultimately, there are great partners at the SCORE jail. They're good people. It's a great facility. But this is ultimately comes down to a business decision for our community. Our SCORE budget has skyrocketed since joining 7 years ago, increasing $3.9 million. That's just unsustainable. That was an increase of 173%. I'll say that again. Our SCORE cost at jail, the SCORE jail cost increased 173% in the time that we've got there, and we just need to do something different. The people of this community deserve to have their taxpayer funds spent wisely. We have other inmate housing options available to us that will save us significantly. The balanced budget which my policy partners on the City Council approved delivers what the community expects and deserves, without raising taxes, laying off any city employees, or dipping into the general fund reserves, all while continue to provide the same level of service. Let's give the council a big round of applause for that. Thank you so much. We are all so fortunate to have dedicated and hardworking council members who are leaders with vision and commitment to our city. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "The future depends on what we do in the present." I think about the future a great deal, as you could probably gather from the whole theme of the speech today. Many of you know I'm a student of history. My office, for those of you who have been there, or if you haven't, stop on by sometime. My office is decorated with a few black and white photos that capture key historical moments and people in history. My wife, Wendy, gave me one of my favorites for Christmas the year before I took this office, and it still hangs in my office today. It's a picture of Winston Churchill walking the deck of the HMS Prince of Wales, smoking a cigar during the Atlantic Conference, a significant event for the United States and Great Britain, who affirmed a sense of solidarity against the Axis aggression in 1941. Our two countries teamed together to free the world of monstrous threat of totalitarianism. There's another picture of John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert, seated head to head at the 1960 Democratic Convention, when the elder Kennedy is telling his brother about his choice for vice president. I heard he wasn't very happy about it. It's interesting to look back at these pictures, because the key moment why I'm talking about this is, well, for us, when we look at these pictures, it appears that there was some eventuality, that the future was preordained, but I can guarantee you it was not. The reason why I like these pictures is because they show these key moments and key people at a time when they're grappling with the decisions that will make up their future, and the future was anything but preordained. And it's tempting to look back at history knowing what we know now and think about its eventuality, but that's instructive for us. Think about the process. Think about the foresight that it takes. I liken public leadership to trying to look around the corner and try to predict the future. Our roles as leaders is to visualize the many potential outcomes and make the most informed decision we can with you, the taxpayer, in mind. Day by day, we will work together to make the present and the future of Federal Way all that we can dream of. Ladies and gentlemen, I work for you, as does your council members and the folks that you elect to do this work for you. And you deserve a community and leadership that reflect that. Because as Doc Brown says to Marty, quote, "Your future hasn't been written yet. No one's has. Your future is whatever you make it. So make it a good one." Ladies and gentlemen, the future is now. Thank you and have a good night.